Well, colleagues, guests and staff, may I warmly welcome everyone to this, for the very first European Conservatives and Reformist Autumn University. It's a great honour to host this first conference here in my home city of London. I'm also grateful to Ashley Fox, the leader of the British Conservative MEPs, for inviting us to hold the first ECR University, Autumn University here, as if I personally needed any persuasion to hold it here. We have translation to and from English, Polish, German, Dutch and Italian. And before we start the proceedings, I just wondered whether we could just take a minute to remember the victims of the tragic events that occurred in Paris last week. Thank you. If my fellow MEPs and staff will forgive me, I know they've heard much of this before, but the idea behind the Autumn University is that when I became the leader of the ECR group in June 2014, I made it clear that there was no point just telling people what we were against. In fact, that we wanted Europe to change, that Europe could not go on as it is. Europe had to reform. We also had to tell people what we were in favour of. And as a group that started in 2009 and very quickly has now become the third largest group in the European Parliament, the third largest out of 8 groups in the European Parliament, we're now with 75 MEPs from 17 different countries. I want our group to be a hub for ideas. One of the things that people used to say about Margaret Thatcher, whether they liked her or disagreed with her, was that they knew what she stood for. And I think it's very important that I'd like to see the European Conservative Reformist group be in that group, that whether people agree with us or disagree with us, they say that the European Conservative Reformists are the group that has the ideas and are putting forward ideas for reform and leading the agenda for reform. I've often said it's about making sure that we are not looking back to an outdated model of the 1950s, but we're looking forward to thinking about the challenges that we will all face as we look forward to the 2050s. And when we think about some of the challenges that we face today, whether it's mass migration, the future of the single currency, the lack of competitiveness across the EU, the demographic crisis, it's quite clear that the EU cannot go on as it is. But it's not enough for us to say that. What we have to be saying is that we have alternative ideas. We are putting something forward on the agenda. So this week, we're hoping to have a sort of update, a culmination of the various policy working groups that we have set up in the ECR group. When I first became the leader, I suggested 6 groups. A number of members came up with their own policy groups to work in a variety of areas, ranging from trade to demography to digital single market, to foreign policy, to a number of different issues, and you will see a number of those policy groups reporting back this week. We have some excellent speakers from both political and the policy communities. We have a number of journalists join us, and hopefully we can take account of and listen to much of the expertise that is in this room. I'm very pleased also to welcome members of the British Conservative Party, those involved in the Conservative Policy Forum, but also those who were former candidates or involved as regional officers. It's important that we as the ECR group are not just be seen as a group of MEPs who go off to Brussels or Strasbourg every week, and then you only hear of us or see us at annual dinners or at events, but actually you understand what we are doing in Brussels and Strasbourg, making sure that we are making the case for reform, but making sure also that we are showing people that we have the ideas to reform the EU. And as David Cameron himself has said to us, part of the reason for the negotiation is not just to get a better deal for Britain within the European Union. It also is to make sure that Europe itself reforms, and we are at the forefront of those ideas. So just to move on, just a couple of issues. Because we want to share the ideas, please do post on Facebook and Twitter. Those of you who have Twitter, you should see some of the different things to post at the front of the desk there. It's #EU Reform. And please do share a number of the discussions, your own ideas, your own thoughts, tweet in and make sure that we show that at the outside world that we are having a healthy debate and a healthy discussion about the ideas that we need to meet the challenges of the future. And with that, it gives me great pleasure to introduce my very good colleague, MEP for the South West, but also leader of the British Conservative delegation in the European Parliament, Ashley Fox.